All right, it's time for this week's Shot Clock. The rules are pretty simple at this stage. I hope you know them. We get 2 minutes to debate a topic. At the end of it, you get to decide who wins. A little bit later on, we're going to speak with John Egan about an amazing season that he's had at Sheffield United. Our first topic this week is about greatness or the underdog. I'm making the case that at this stage, the right thing for us all to do is to get behind the greatness that we see in everyday life, which is such a rare thing. So this Dublin team gone for 5 in a row. Wouldn't it be great to say you saw the best team in Gaelic football history actually win something? The same way that it was great that we all got to see Tiger Woods come back, the greatness of his career fully. There's just a little exclamation mark at the end, like Jack Nicklaus winning in '86. All those great things, like an Irish team winning the Grand Slam, when Ireland win the Rugby World Cup. If anybody believes that we're going to do that. It's great to be around greatness. It was great to see that Manchester United team in their absolute peak. It was great that they drove Arsenal to be the Invincibles, and that was the only thing that could drive them to that. Apparently, though, I'm completely wrong, and everybody actually wants to see Dublin trip up. What the hell's wrong with you people?
You secretly want them to trip up too, Joe. But it's greatness is always appreciated after the fact, and I think you mentioned Tiger Woods, you mentioned Jack Nicklaus. They were actually underdogs almost. Of course, Tiger is the man, but we're all kind of rooting for Tiger this time as an underdog. I'm sure there was times when Tiger was completely dominating for the game that we were hoping somebody'd beat him. His greatness was then, but we kind of only realised that we realised how good he was. But I think the underdog pulls on our emotions more, and I think, you know, if it was like a Kerry Offaly 82, if it was a Dublin Mayo All-Ireland final, the emotional side of you has to lean towards Mayo, and you'll be sitting in your chair, Jerry, yes, even you, sitting in your chair, praying to God that Mayo would do it, because they're the underdog, because they're trying to defeat greatness. But if Dublin do it, you will sit back in 10 years and kind of go, wow, there was some team, and you'll be telling your kids, I saw them in their pomp. And so I think always greatness is kind of is always looked at after the event, but at the exact time of it, you're always going with the underdog. It's Irish, it's human nature, Joe. We're underdogs by nature. We always cheer for the underdogs, no?
I think though that greatness is underappreciated in this country. I think that Kilkenny hurling team only began to get their dues properly about a decade afterwards, when they all started to come out, and it turned out that they were all as funny and good crack as it turns out they are. But that at the time, people were like, oh, this is boring. They've just put in an absolutely perfect performance against Waterford. This is no good for the game. It was like, that's the greatest team that ever lived, doing the greatest things that we're ever going to see.
Yeah, it's hard to recognise it at the fact, because all we do is want Waterford to win that All Ireland. But yeah, no, it's a good topic. We'll keep it going. We'll bring it back up again sometime. Next up, we just touched on him earlier on, but the great John O'Shea, the Waterford man, who is retiring. What a career he had. The nutmeg on Figo. To be honest, if I was John O'Shea, I'd just walk around with the nutmeg on Figo, literally ready to play on my phone, just to show anybody, because it was such an epic moment against one of the world's best. But his career is far more than that, and what he did in the game, he's obviously up there with all-time Irish centre halves. I suppose you'd have Richard Dunn, John O'Shea, Paul McGrath, Mark Lawrenson, Kenny Cunningham.
Paul McGrath's top, right? That's 100% Paul McGrath's top. And after that, so who is your partner alongside Paul McGrath? I mean, John O'Shea's got a shout to be right in there. I didn't see enough of Mark Lawrenson, because he kind of just retired around the time when I was starting to watch football properly. But obviously Lawrenson is part of one of the greatest Liverpool teams, and has done it at the European Cup level, so he must be in consideration as well. And then obviously back in the day, there are a couple of amazing centre-backs, I think, in the 50s. But let's keep it to the Charlton era and beyond.
Okay.
And I think that you can definitely make the case that he is Paul McGrath's natural partner.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be probably, in my head, it'd be probably against himself and Richard Dunn. But I think what John O'Shea is often underestimated for was, we talked about his versatility earlier on, but that he could actually go to the centre midfield in that great United team and play, not look out of place. He could go left back, right back, centre back, defensive midfielder role. So, you know, that's a big, you know, Kenny was talking about, he's 6'3", a big man, and going in there as a defensive midfielder for Man United and being solid and not looking out of place, and wherever he was needed at the time, he was put, and he scored some massive goals and had some massive moments in games, and I think he'll always be just remembered. I think I haven't met him enough. I only came across him once, but I think he's probably the nicest fella of all time, I'd say. Like, I've never heard anybody say a bad word about him. Just looked like an all-round great teammate, and he can be very proud of the career that he had with Ireland, Man United, and everybody else he played with, because it was unbelievable from the lad from Waterford.
Yeah, I think his club career puts him just ahead of Richard Dunn, so he gets into the Ireland team.
Okay, still from Paul McGrath.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we're doing burnout. GA burnout in this one, and this is the whole notion that there are no football championships worth talking about apart from really the Ulster Football Championship and maybe a little bit of Connacht. So it means that the Ulster lads go at each other and kill each other. They slit each other's throats, sometimes literally.
We're very Game of Thrones here.
Sometimes literally in those games. And then they get to Croke Park and they're like, oh, well, we won Ulster, so that's fine. We're absolutely exhausted. It's the same with the Munster Hurling Championship. The great championship that it is, the storied Munster Hurling Championship, which is talked about as a global sports event, not really a good thing to actually win, generally, if you want to go on and win an All-Ireland. One of those things that actually takes so much out of you in doing it that it's not necessarily worth the benefit of it. Whereas you look at the Leinster Football Championship, the Munster Football Championship, you coast through, you pick up a handy All-Ireland if you're Dublin or Kerry in those good years, and away you go.
Stop it.
Whereas the rest of the country, stupidly, is trying to beat their neighbours when actually what they should be trying to do is like, oh, let's play the under-21s in these games, and we'll see you again in Croker when it matters.
Stop it. I completely disagree. We just talked about a few moments ago about re-tiering the championship, so we'd have more of these teams taking the head.
That's different.
Yeah, but then what, like, you're going to have these teams that are going after each other. I think the Ulster Championship and the Munster Hurling Championship, it's always, burnout is always a thing where I remember Tyrone got to us in 2008. I think they played 10 games that summer and they won. And everybody said afterwards, oh, they were very sharp, they'd played loads of matches, they were used to each other, they'd been in the battles, they'd come out of them, Jesus, isn't that brilliant. If Tyrone lost that final, every single same person would be saying they were tired, they did a tough Ulster Championship, they were burnt out, it's rubbish. Play every week, play the best teams every week, try and make it all the same. No such thing as burnout. We're playing 10 championship games, we're training for 12 months, we're non-stop up and down mountains, rivers, through everything to get ready for championship. We play once every 3 or 4 weeks. Half of the games are a walkover. So yeah, no, I don't believe in I don't believe in the burnout. They're not doing enough.
The reason for that was really about Leeds and Bielsa burning them out, and Keith Andrews having said months and months and months ago that Leeds would actually eventually burn themselves out with the style and all that stuff that had been going on. But it was just an excuse for me to talk about the handy All-Irelands.
Yeah, exactly.
Dublin have won. So.
And in that point, it's because the results have gone a bit shaky that's looked upon now. And if they'd kept on winning, they'd be a great team. There'd be no talk about burnout. So it's always a results-based issue. Next up, hate to say it, but Rockets and Warriors NBA playoffs. I'm going to give him his chance to gloat. Go on, Joe.
2-0 at the moment to the Warriors against the whiny Rockets. I didn't realise that the Rockets were such a whiny bunch of losers. I saw apparently they went away last year after they got beaten by the Warriors, and they did up a dossier. They went through every single missed call. They had 79 missed calls that would have led to 18.5 points in the final game that would have maybe overturned the defeat, because they lost by 9, and if you add 18 to 9 you get 9, and so they would have won by 9, and then they would have won the championship finals, because you know we all know LeBron and the Cavs wouldn't have shown up against the finals against the Houston Rockets. Whine, bitch. I didn't know this.
The Rockets are down 2-1 now. They're going to go back to Houston. I think they're going to get game 3. That sets it all up. If they get game 4, they go back in. I think game 5 is going to be pivotal in the series. They're whining. They're right to whine. For 82 games, 82 in the regular season, they've called every time somebody has nearly stepped on James Harden's toes on a 3-point line, he gets an N1. He's all year playing and he's all year flopping after his trees, used to getting these N1. Oh, hold on, now you're playing the Golden State. Now everybody in the world is watching the series. We're going to stop calling it all of a sudden. And I remember I said to you, I fancied the Rockets to win the NBA this year, but I was worried about one thing. The Utah Jazz played them a number of weeks ago. They guarded James Harden in a way that we hadn't seen all season. They stood high up on his left side. He's a left-handed shooter. He couldn't get that shot off on his left hand. They actually stood this side of him and made him drive right-handed. That's how good of a 3-point shooter this guy is. And I was afraid of this happening, and I saw it in the highlights this morning. I saw it in game 1. They're defending him high up there. They're making it really hard for him. They're making him drive. He's dropping alley-oops to Capella, but he's not getting his threes. He's not getting his 50 points. I think this Rockets crowd on game 3 is going to be off the charts. And I think if they get game 3, Ger, we're going to have a great series. They're 10-1. They're basically 10-1 now to beat the Rockets 4 times in the next 6 games, which is tough enough to do. But I think if there's a team to do it, it will be the Rockets.
Yeah, if there is. I hear a lot of whining.
If the refs blow all the calls. But you're going to get home advantage, Ger. We talk about home advantage with Kerry. We talk about home advantage with Dublin playing in Croke Park. Home advantage is a real thing when you're playing a team like the Warriors, who can shoot it with Clay, Steph and Kevin Durant, and they're hitting these trees after trees after trees. That's tough to play against on the road, but you get them on the road and it might be a different story.
The Rockets basically want to be Team 33. That's what they want. All right, so fantasy comeback. If you could pick one team, so we're going to pick the top 4 in the betting at the moment for the All-Ireland Football Championship. If you could pick one player from history to come back and rejoin the panel to get a team over the line, I'm going to start with 2 easy ones. My first one is Tyrone, the easy one here. I mean, Brian McGuigan, I think, would actually be almost as invaluable to this team as Peter Canavan, who I am going to pick. I'm going to pick Peter Canavan because obviously he's like one of generational talent, and if you stick Peter Canavan in that team, all of a sudden you can just leave him up in the forward line on his own, double marked, and he's still going to kick 1-4, 1-5, 1-6 from play over the course of a game. Yeah,
and exactly, I was like you, I'd McGuigan. I'd also do her as a kind of especially the fact that they've Matty Donnelly inside, because he was kind of almost doing that number 10 role. But you can't leave out Peter Canavan. He's corner forward. You build everybody else around him. He's an obvious one. For me, in the Dublin side, I went with Kieran Whelan. I just think if you're going to try and win 5 in a row and you Fenton and Whelan in midfield, they're going to be very hard to beat, the two of them. You can't take your eyes off both of them. Both of them can kick scores. Both of them are brilliant in the air. Both of them are strong as a horse. I think that putting him into that Dublin midfield with Fenton would make them virtually unstoppable for the 5 in a row.
There's only one Dublin player who Dublin need to get back from this or any other generation. That's Dermot Connolly, and we all know that's the truth.
He's not retired.
Any retired player, I would actually give them Alan Brogan. Alan Brogan at his peak, I think, is a player who can actually get into that team, and I think they're strong enough in midfield and they have enough. Or now you could actually add Paul Flynn at his absolute peak, because again, I know Mark will send half forward who can do all the defensive stuff. And but let's move on to Mayo, because I mean there's an obvious one here, but then there's a better one, I think, than the obvious one. Who have you gone for?
I've gone for, I don't know, is this your obvious one? But I've gone for Kieran McDonald. I just think just having him on the 40 yards there with Aidan O'Shea out midfield and giving him the ball and letting him pick out guys inside, and he was certainly just one of them all-time great players, and he was an inspirational player. And if you needed somebody to try and stop the 5 in a row or get Mayo over the line, I think if you slip McDonald into this team, I think it'd up your chances big time.
I'm going for Lee McHale. That's I just think that you're going to be able to. He's a jigsaw. You can move everybody else around as well.
Yeah, throw him in around the edge of the square.
You can put him as a man marking job on Fenton if you have to. You can do whatever you want with him, but he's definitely going to be a game winner. He's going to get that All-Ireland.
What about Kerry?
He deserves. For Kerry, I mean, I think if you just add you back into the team, I mean, you're fit.
Will you shut up?
Well, you're the club championship. What the hell's wrong with you? Do you just not care anymore? Is that you just not?
Jesus! I've gone with Jack O'Shea. Don't mind that fella. I've gone with Jack O'Shea. I just think Kerry right now, if we were to go to the All Ireland, need a bit of steel, need that running ability, that football ability. Yeah, Jack O'Shea, all-time great. Throw him in there next to a fit David Moore, and I think that'd be the midfield combo that would take it to the Dubs.
Yeah, no, you add Jack O'Shea into any team, and suddenly they're the best team in the country, right?
Yeah.
Getting pretty close to it.
Yeah, getting close to it.
All right, that was good crack. Let's move on, because one of the big stories in Irish football over the last week has been the success of Sheffield United, backboned by a bunch of Irish players, and I'm delighted to say we have one on the line. John Egan, good morning to you. How you doing?
Morning, lads. Those things.
Morning, John.
Morning, Kieran. How are you, boy?
Good, boy. Good. We were looking at some of the bit of banter that you were having there after you eventually got up. It looked like a bit of crack.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I think, straight after the game, obviously it was a bit weird being on the pitch, because there was still a 6-point swing, and obviously it was kind of virtually done, but there was a bit of goal difference. And then I think once Leeds and Villa drew on Sunday, that was it. Then we were up, and I suppose you've seen all the videos and everything on Twitter. It was amazing scenes. Such a big club, big city, and everyone was just delighted. And I think you can see by all the videos, and that is unbelievable.
Yeah, good chant by yourself afterwards. You're looking sharp. You've the tuck still on. You're like a fella. You're like a fella at about 11:30 during the wedding. The shirt is just about to start coming out.
I know, yeah, you have to scroll well for these things, but the chant was mad. It was just something I came up with. Would you believe I came up with it? I seen a video on Twitter 6 or 7 months ago, and I think it was Letterkenny IT. I think they won the Trench Cup or something, and they sang this song in the back of a bus, and they mentioned Oisin McConville and they mentioned a lot of fellas in it. And I remember thinking at the time, I was like, Jesus, that's unbelievable. I'd love if we won something and come up with a chant like that. And that's basically where that started. And it was just just got up on the stage and belted it out, and all of a sudden it's everywhere now. I can't pick my phone up without seeing a notification. Like,
yeah, I know, it's a good one. Yeah, it looks like a bit of crack. And come here to me, a fella that's stuck in the crack is your manager, Chris Wilder. He looks like good fun, but he also seems a great manager. How was it playing centre half for him?
He's brilliant. You know, I mean, I came to the club last July, and you know, from the off, I knew that. You know, I knew this was a successful manager. Like, I think it's his third promotion in 3 years, and from working with him now for this season, I can see why he's such a winner. We have a great way of playing, and you know, we play good football, and we've been successful. But I think what tops everything off is just how much of a winner he is and how motivational he is. I mean, you know, every time he addresses us, no matter, it could be on a Monday morning, could be on a Friday morning, but whenever we have a meeting with him, you know, you come out of the meeting and you know, you're ready to run through a brick wall from really. And I think that shows on the pitch. I think, you know, every single week as a team, we don't give anything up easily. I think everybody goes out, works 100%, and you know, I think that really comes from the manager. And you know, it's for me personally as a centre half to work for him. He's made me better as well. But you know, as a team, as a group, you know, we're all delighted to have him, and you know, he's the best I've ever worked with. Yeah.
It's interesting you talk about him making you a better player, because the setup of the team was something that Keith Andrews had been raving about for months. He was talking about the overlapping centre backs, and you're obviously one of those. So how has he improved you, and how have you managed to fit into that system? It kind of feels like it's a perfect marriage.
Yeah, it's a really good fit. You know, we play 3-5-2, and you know, two boys alongside me, they'd be going overlapping, and I don't think anyone's ever kind of seen that before, centre halves overlapping. I think you've seen the first goal against Ipswich. Jack O'Connell goes on a run, gets the ball, gives it inside, give and go, and then you know, pulls it in. Scotty Hogan finishes it, and you know, that really sums us up. We throw caution to the wind without being reckless, and it's up to me then to kind of organise behind that, and you know, make sure that we keep clean sheets. And you know, to have 21 clean sheets already is pretty good, and you know, that's another side of it. We as good as we are going forward, you know, you have to keep the back door locked, and I think you know, the way we play, it's hard for teams to kind of get the grips with it. And yeah, as I said, you know, me playing in the middle of a back three, it's just gone as well as it could really. It seemed like a perfect fit, as you said.
John, one of the things that I was really keen to ask you about was the journey that you've been on, because it has had massive setbacks along the way. People might have seen the documentary a couple of years ago when you were, I think, with Sunderland at that stage, and it was you recovering from surgery. It was you and a couple of other Irish lads who were over through the academy system in England, and who were kind of at different stages of their careers. And for most of it, you were sitting there playing PlayStation and putting yourself in playing PlayStation, and it was like there was kind of this awful sense that maybe this was as far as your career was going to go because the injury was so severe. But here you are on the verge of playing in the Premier League through a circuitous route. You have to be a hard bastard to stick it out the whole way.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, people think, you know, being a footballer is all great, and you know, there's no downs to it, but I can assure you that, you know, it's a long road, even for players to play Championship, to play League One, Premier League, no matter what league, to be a footballer, you have to be mentally strong. And you know, I think obviously when I broke my leg, it was really low. Probably coming off that pitch in Bradford that night, you know, I was, you know, obviously in a world of pain, but I was obviously half thinking, Jesus, is that it? You know, I'd be lying if I never told you that I thought that. But you know, I suppose I kept the belief. You know, my rehab at Sunderland, you know, I kept my belief all the way through that. You know, wrote down a few goals and stuff, what I wanted to do, and you know, thankfully I just stuck to the plan and kept trying to get better. And you know, got my leg, got back up on my feet, and you know, I think I started my first few games. I went on loan to Southend in League Two, and ever since then it's been an upward curve. And you know, it's just all about belief and being mentally strong. And you know, hopefully people, maybe more young players who unfortunately might suffer a bad injury when they're, you know, 18, 19 trying to break through, you know, hopefully some of them can maybe look at my story and see that, you know, if you put the work in, and, you know, if you're dedicated and make sacrifices, you know, that, you can come back from these things and you can kick on and go on to do whatever you want to do.
John, we know you're tough because you've got obviously a good breeding line.
Yeah.
And for your old man to survive years with Jimmy Dean and marking him in training, you're obviously made of, the Egans are obviously made of good stuff. And it was, look, I always, even been friends with Tommy Walsh and David Moore, and it must be tough, like for the likes of yourselves, kind of like almost playing under that shadow, and you know, and even for you to and I know how proud you are of your old man and what he was able to do for Kerry, but how proud of you the fact that you, as you said, through all these injuries, through all them knocks, are going to be lacing up your boots, sitting in Premier League dressing rooms next year, ready to go to war with your teammate, who you've got a great manager, you'll strengthen the squad. What are your goals yourself for next year?
Well, to be honest, it hasn't even kind of sunk in yet. But even thinking about it there just is unbelievable. I mean, goals for us next year now. Obviously, we have to go in, kind of try to switch off in the summer and relax. But when we come back, the goals have got to be to come in and try to take to the Premier League like we've kind of taken to this division. Not to be afraid of it and go and try and attack it. And we've seen how well teams have done, in the past when they've come up, and it'll be up to us now to go in and keep our distinctive style and go into it. And there's going to be times when you're going to be up against it. Obviously, the top 6 teams are, they're top teams, top players from all over the world. The Premier League is like a world league now. So yeah, we no doubt there's going to be some tough games. But I think if we keep to our principles, I think that we'll have a good season, hopefully.
What about your own hopes in terms of the Ireland setup? Obviously, you've kind of been on the fringe of squads in the past, and you've got beginning to get some opportunities there. Like centre back is one of those positions, and we've talked about this with people all around the world, that in Europe at the moment, centre backs aren't really coming to the peak of their powers until their mid to late 20s. Just the way the game has evolved, it's not as physical a game anymore. You can't just go and kick somebody the way you were able to do in the 80s and even up to the 90s. So it's taken a bit longer for coaching to understand exactly how to get young players into the mindset of playing. You've got hundreds of games now, effectively, and you're kind of arriving at just the right moment in the Premier League.
Yeah, I feel really, I feel ready. I've always believed in my ability anyway, no matter what age I was. I suppose that's probably out of pure stubbornness, but I really do feel as ready as ever now, and I just have to keep improving. You have to keep improving till the day you finish, and I think there's a lot of improvement left in me, and I'm looking forward now to this summer and to next season, and testing myself at the highest level.
One last thing, sorry, for me, you must have been watching Jan Vertonghen last night, very interested. You had a couple of concussions when you were at Brentford, and obviously it's something the football is really catching up on rugby a little bit at the moment. Still has a bit of education to do generally.
Yeah, I picked up a couple of concussions last season when I was at Brentford, and to be fair, at Brentford, the doctors and the physios took everything out of my hands, so it was, it was good and stuff. And I think the second concussion I got, they actually didn't allow me go back playing for 3 or 4 weeks, even though it's like a week protocol, just to be on the safe side. So I think it's something that is definitely improving in soccer. I think 3 or 4 years ago, you get a head knock in the pitch and you probably just try to run it off, and you end up being dizzy after training or after a game or something. But I think now there's a lot more awareness about it, and yeah, seeing that last night, it didn't look good. But when you're heading balls and you're clashing heads, I think it's going to be common, and it's good now that that there's a bit of awareness about it anyway, because your health is your wealth at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely, John. And where's enough of the serious talk? Listen to me. Where are you going on holidays? Where's your first piss up going to be? And how are you going to celebrate this thing properly?
I don't know, you'll have to keep the eyes peeled. You have to keep the eyes peeled.
I'll have to keep an eye on Instagram.
I don't know, we'll have that organised.
Don't be giving away them secrets.
But I'll be back to Kerry in here sometime, so I'll have to give you a text when I'm back in Kerry. Yeah,
we'll meet up for sure. And look, listen, boy, absolutely unbelievably proud of you, and well done, and enjoy the break, and keep the head on, and keep working hard for next season, and we'll be in touch. Best of luck.
I will, Kieran. Thanks a million.
Not a bother, John. Thank you.
Good stuff. That is this week's Shot Clock. Great interview there with John Egan. Very happy with life, and deservedly so.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, a great guy. I got on to him yesterday about coming on shot clock and no bother. So yeah, and he's a great kid, very down to earth. Barry John Keane would be very good friends with him. They'd be over and back, and I'd say if he's good friends with Barry John, he's that kind of a bit of a good. He's got great banter, I'd say, because Barry John's very witty, and the two of them together are supposed to be good crack. And John came to one or two of our sessions back over the years to probably see how we were doing stuff and how it was different to what he was doing over across the pond. But
sessions on the pitch.
His sessions on the pitch, yeah. It might have been one or two off it as well.
Right, we're sleepwalking into the football championship. It feels a little bit. It's all kicking off this weekend. Here's the Galway boss, Kevin Walsh, talking with Mark Ross and Kelly.